My name is Mary, and for nearly 8 decades, I've been the steadfast cornerstone of my household, dedicating my life to nurturing and maintaining its warmth and comfort as a devoted housewife. Throughout the years, my husband David and I have sought solace in the simple pleasures of life, cherishing moments of respite away from the chaotic hustle and bustle of city living. Our son, Charles, embarked on his own journey of matrimony 4 years ago, exchanging vows with the charming Lisa and subsequently relocating to her hometown. This significant milestone in Charles's life marked a new chapter for our family, one that promised both joy and inevitable adjustments. Little did we anticipate the complexities that would emerge in the wake of this union. As David and I sat down to discuss our retirement plans, our tranquil reverie was interrupted by an unexpected message from Charles. His request to visit us for a week, though seemingly innocuous, sparked a whirlwind of apprehension within us. You see, Charles's visits had become infrequent, and the strained dynamics between our families cast a shadow over his sudden desire to reconnect. The tension, it seemed, stemmed not from the conventional trope of a meddling mother-in-law, but rather from the subtle nuances of discomfort perpetuated by Lisa herself. Her demeanor often veered towards coldness, and her words carried an underlying weight that left us uneasy. The thought of navigating these unspoken tensions during Charles and Lisa's impending visit filled me with a sense of trepidation. When the day of their arrival finally came, the air was thick with anticipation, and exchanges were kept to a minimum. It was evident that a weighty conversation loomed on the horizon, and as Charles began to speak, I braced myself for the revelation that would follow. What unfolded before us was a tale of unforeseen challenges and unexpected decisions. Charles confessed to the precarious financial situation plaguing his employment and expressed his desire to forge a new path in life. His words hung in the air, heavy with implications that hinted at a deeper rift within his own household. As I listened to Charles's account, I couldn't help but reflect on the choices that had led him to this juncture. His decision to distance himself from us post-marriage suddenly made sense, as did his longing for refuge in Lisa's hometown. Yet beneath the surface, I sensed a narrative of familial discord and emotional strain that transcended geographical boundaries. In the midst of Charles's confession, Lisa's voice chimed in, offering a perspective that shed light on the complexities of her own struggles. Her candid admission of tension within her family dynamics struck a chord within me, reminding me of the delicate balance we all strive to maintain in our relationships. David and I had envisioned our twilight years as a time of serenity and tranquility, a period marked by the simple pleasures of life. Our recently renovated home, a labor of love, stood as a testament to our aspirations for a peaceful existence. Yet, as we confronted the realities of Charles and Lisa's plight, it became increasingly clear that our capacity to provide support, both physically and emotionally, was reaching its limits. In the end, as we grappled with the weight of Charles and Lisa's revelations, one truth remained steadfast. The bonds of family, though tested and strained, endure through the trials of life. And as we navigated the uncertain terrain of the days ahead, we did so with the understanding that love, in all its complexity, is the guiding force that binds us together, now and always. Taking deep breaths to steady myself, I endeavored to articulate our sentiments to Charles and Lisa. "We truly appreciate your enthusiasm for a renovated home," Lisa began, "but the truth is, we're genuinely looking forward to enjoying it ourselves." Despite our attempts to convey our reservations, they seemed adamant about their decision to move in with us, brushing aside our concerns with reassurances. Anxiety gnawed at me as I contemplated the impending prospect of cohabitation. "Isn't next week too sudden?" I voiced my apprehensions, hoping to prompt a reconsideration of their plans. David echoed my sentiments, expressing similar worries about the abruptness of their decision and the need to consider Lisa's parents and our own preparations. Yet, despite our reservations, the young couple remained unwavering in their assurances. "It's okay, don't worry about it," they chimed repeatedly, as if to quell our unease. A week later, they made themselves at home in our midst, only to retreat to their previous residence shortly afterward. The strain of supporting them financially, coupled with the realization that Lisa may have ulterior motives, weighed heavily on our minds. "We have our limits," David remarked, his voice tinged with concern. "We can barely manage our mortgage payments as it is. The thought of shouldering the burden of supporting both of them is simply too much, especially considering Lisa's apparent intentions." "I completely agree," I concurred, feeling a pang of disappointment at the turn of events. "We can't allow ourselves to be taken advantage of. We need to assert our boundaries and make it clear that this living arrangement is untenable." As we contemplated our future, the prospect of upheaval loomed large in our minds. "Every aspect seems to require preparation and adjustment," I mused aloud, feeling a sense of unease at the thought of our peaceful existence being disrupted. The following day, I mustered the courage to call Charles, hoping to convey our reluctance to continue with their living arrangement. "Living together is just too hard for us," I explained apologetically. "Your father feels the same way. We hope you understand, and perhaps it's time for you two to find a new path forward." I had hoped that my words would resonate with him, but his response left us stunned. "Actually," he began, his tone betraying a sense of determination, "I've already made the necessary arrangements to move in tomorrow." Despite our protests, it seemed Charles and Lisa were resolute in their decision. The next day, as the sound of a moving truck echoed through our neighborhood, we watched in resignation as they stepped into our living room, seemingly oblivious to our concerns. "Hello!" Lisa exclaimed cheerfully, her enthusiasm palpable despite the exhaustion of their journey. "We've finally arrived and I could really use a cup of coffee, Mary. Would you mind making one for me?" As I stood there, grappling with a mixture of frustration and resignation, I couldn't help but wonder how this first interaction would shape our future together. With a genuine eagerness to accommodate, I responded enthusiastically to Lisa's request. "The kitchen is just through here," I offered, gesturing towards the back room. "I'll show you where everything is and how to use it. That way, you can whip up anything you like whenever the mood strikes." As I led Lisa towards the kitchen, her expression soured, and she clicked her tongue disapprovingly before speaking. "Why are you being so cold?" she questioned, her tone laden with accusation. "We've seriously considered our future, even proposed living together. I never imagined I'd have to prepare a simple cup of coffee myself." Her sudden remark caught me off guard, and I struggled to conceal my surprise. It seemed her words belied a lack of appreciation for our hospitality, and her demeanor remained unchanged as she continued. "Living in this house means we can save a lot on expenses, right? Plus, there's the possibility of inheritance in the future." I never imagined we'd be so fortunate. Lisa made no effort to contribute to household chores or laundry, instead opting to criticize me with each glance. Her casual mention of inheritance struck a discordant note, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease at her lack of tact. It appeared that Charles was aware of her attitude, yet remained silent on the matter. Meanwhile, David, having retired, spent most weekdays away from home for a new job, unaware of the dynamics unfolding in his absence. Concerned by my growing fatigue and the strain of managing household responsibilities, he approached me with genuine care. "Mary, I'm genuinely concerned about you," he expressed, his voice tinged with worry. "If things become overwhelming, let's work together to find a solution." His words always had a calming effect on me, yet Lisa's behavior continued to unsettle me. Her mention of inheritance had sparked a realization within me living with her would prove to be a challenge, not just due to her blunt remarks, but due to a deeper underlying tension that I couldn't quite place. Despite Lisa's watchful gaze and subtle attempts to isolate me from Charles, I seized every opportunity to communicate directly with him. "If it's shopping, Charles and I can go," I suggested, hoping for a moment of privacy. "Just let us know what you need, and we'll take care of everything. And, of course, we'll handle the expenses." As I watched Charles's reaction, I couldn't shake the feeling of apprehension that lingered within me. It seemed that beneath the surface of our seemingly harmonious family dynamic, tensions simmered, threatening to disrupt the fragile balance we had sought to maintain. I harbored a genuine hope that through open communication with Charles, Lisa's demeanor might soften, if only slightly. It had been 8 months since we began cohabiting, and during this time, Charles appeared to lack urgency in seeking employment, preferring to lounge around the house. "It's time to start considering finding a job," I gently suggested one day, my concern growing with each passing moment. "Relying solely on us won't be sustainable in the long run. You should think about supporting yourself." Despite my attempts at diplomacy, Charles and Lisa seemed oblivious to the strain their inertia placed on our lives. Each day of their inaction heightened my disappointment and frustration. We found ourselves dipping into our retirement savings, despite still carrying a mortgage on our newly renovated home. It appeared as though Charles remained indifferent to our predicament. As the weight of our circumstances bore down on me, I realized I could no longer endure in silence. I confided in David, who had already sensed my growing discontent. "Mary, it's time to stop enduring," he advised, his concern palpable. "I plan to have a candid conversation with Charles tomorrow." After discussing our approach, we decided to address the issue as a family the following evening. Though I braced myself for Lisa's potential objections, a sense of resolution settled within me at the thought of finally confronting our situation. As night fell and the family gathered around the table, David attempted to broach the topic, but Lisa interrupted, requesting a moment to speak. Standing before us, she declared, "Throughout our time here, we've had many feelings. We believe this wonderful house isn't suitable for the two of you." Charles agrees. Her words hung in the air, laden with an unexpected directive. It dawned on me that Lisa intended to invite her own parents to reside in our renovated home. An atmosphere of tension filled the room as I struggled to comprehend the gravity of her proposal. "Are you truly serious?" I questioned, my voice trembling with a mix of shock and confusion. But Lisa remained unfazed, her demeanor haughty as she dismissed our concerns. "We believe you should be grateful for living with us," she retorted, her tone condescending. Stunned into silence, David and I exchanged glances, grappling with the weight of Lisa's audacious request. Eventually, David composed himself enough to address Charles, his tone firm yet measured. "Charles, do you understand the implications of this decision?" he inquired, seeking clarity amidst the swirling chaos of emotions. "What do you make of all this?" David's earnest inquiry hung in the air, prompting us to await Charles's response with bated breath. Lisa's audacious demand for us to vacate our own home left us reeling, desperately seeking insight or validation in Charles's words. As Charles pondered his response, a flicker of contemplation crossed his features. Upon reflection, he began tentatively, "There might be some merit to what Lisa is suggesting. Losing my job has been regrettable, and Lisa has been holding down the fort admirably. Perhaps it's time for you, Mom and Dad, to embark on a fresh start elsewhere." His words, though unexpected, struck a chord within us, sparking a moment of silent understanding. It was a realization that had been simmering beneath the surface as we grappled with the changing dynamics of our relationship with Charles. He was our cherished only child, and while we had never intended to coddle him excessively, his union with Lisa seemed to have altered his outlook drastically. As we exchanged glances, a tacit agreement passed between us, acknowledging the need for a new chapter. Yet, amidst our contemplation, Lisa interjected with a sharp retort. "Why rely on silent communication?" she challenged, her tone laced with disdain. "If you have time for that, you should be packing your bags and leaving this house." Though her words stung with anger and confusion, I maintained a composed demeanor, offering a calm smile in response. "Understood," I replied evenly. "We won't intrude any further. Whatever unfolds from now on, please don't involve us." Even as I spoke these words, I felt a sense of liberation wash over me. It was a declaration of independence from the tumultuous circumstances that had engulfed us, a resolve to chart our own path forward. And though Lisa's face lit up with satisfaction, I couldn't shake the lingering doubts that gnawed at my heart. As the day of departure loomed, I found myself grappling with a mixture of emotions. On one hand, there was a palpable sense of relief at the prospect of escaping Lisa's oppressive presence. Yet beneath the surface there lingered a nagging uncertainty about the future that awaited us. As David busied himself with preparations for our move, his enthusiasm for the prospect of a new beginning was palpable. "We'll turn this into an adventure," he declared optimistically, his eyes alight with excitement as he sifted through our belongings. And though we had yet to settle on our next destination, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope amidst the uncertainty. It was a reminder that even in the face of adversity, there was always the potential for renewal and growth. And as we embarked on this new chapter, I resolved to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. Trusting in David's guidance, we embarked on a journey filled with uncertainty, packing only the essentials as we bid farewell to our home. Deep down, I harbored a faint hope that Charles would intervene at the 11th hour, but his silent acquiescence, coupled with Lisa's smile, spoke volumes. The fragility of family bonds weighed heavily on my mind during our journey, yet strangely, I felt a sense of liberation and clarity. Perhaps it was the relief of escaping Lisa's domineering presence that lifted my spirits. As the landscape outside our window shifted, David revealed his surprise. "We're almost there," he announced, his tone tinged with excitement. Puzzled, I inquired about our destination, only to learn that he had secured a room in a luxury condominium, meticulously tailored to our preferences. Located on the second floor to accommodate my fear of heights, the apartment boasted amenities beyond our wildest dreams: a dedicated reading space, a well-equipped gym, and a serene communal bath. It was a far cry from our previous abode, and I couldn't help but express my gratitude. "I never imagined we'd live somewhere like this," I marveled, my disbelief evident. David's reply was tinged with warmth as he revealed the extent of his planning. "It ensures our peace of mind in our old age," he affirmed, his smile reflecting a sense of contentment. Despite the challenges ahead, David's optimistic spirit buoyed our resolve as we tackled the tasks of settling into our new home. The following day, we navigated the bureaucratic maze of real estate procedures, selling our old house and settling our mortgage with our savings. With the weight of financial burdens lifted, we found ourselves feeling lighter, our hearts brimming with newfound hope. Meanwhile, Charles and Lisa embarked on their own journey, embracing their new family structure with Lisa's parents by their side. As we heard snippets of their newfound contentment, I couldn't help but envision the joy they must be experiencing in their fresh start. However, amidst the flurry of change, a call from Lisa unexpectedly pierced the tranquility, signaling a potential shift in our intertwined destinies. "Hello, Mary. It's Lisa. Have you settled into your new home yet? You're not living in a park, are you? If something were to happen to you, please don't rely on us. It would be troublesome." Lisa's voice, filled with concern or perhaps something else, echoed through the phone. Despite her attempt at casual conversation, tension hung in the air as I grappled with my emotions. "Speaking of parks, our new home overlooks a beautiful park," I responded, my tone cautious. "But, Lisa, there may come a time when you have to face reality." I didn't intend for our conversation to escalate into a heated exchange, but overwhelmed by my emotions, I couldn't help but hint at the underlying tensions. "Mary, have you gone mad?" Lisa retorted, her voice tinged with annoyance. "No need to worry. Charles and I are living very happily. Goodbye." With that, she abruptly ended the call, leaving me to ponder the implications of our conversation. Lisa's obliviousness to the deeper meaning behind my words only served to exacerbate my frustration. For days afterward, the encounter replayed in my mind, each time stoking the embers of resentment towards Lisa's attitude. Despite my lingering animosity, a part of me couldn't help but anticipate the challenges they might face in the future. A few days later, as if on cue, we received a call from the real estate agent handling the sale of our old house. David and I shared a knowing glance, our excitement palpable. However, our jubilation was short-lived, as an urgent call from Charles disrupted the tranquility. His voice, fraught with anger and frustration, accused us of neglecting to inform them of the impending sale. "Why didn't you tell us about this? We didn't hear anything about selling the house. Now we're suddenly receiving an eviction notice from the realtor." Charles's accusations cut through the air, revealing his inner turmoil. It was the opportunity we had been waiting for, the chance to assert our stance. Calmly, David began to address Charles's accusations, unraveling the complexities of the situation. "Charles, I understand your frustration," David began, his voice steady. "But it's not as simple as you think. Ideally, you should have contributed to paying off the mortgage on that house. As Charles's shock and disappointment became apparent, I couldn't help but notice a shift in his demeanor. The confident facade he once wore seemed to crumble, replaced by a vulnerability that hinted at a deeper conflict within him. In this moment, I whispered to David, I struggled to see him as Charles, the son we raised with love. It was a revelation that struck us deeply. Perhaps our true family now comprised only the three of us, stripped of wealth and resources. David's suggestion hinted at the possibility that all four of them were, in fact, penniless. Our investigations uncovered a troubling truth. Since they began living together, they had succumbed to the allure of gambling, plunging into a vortex of debt. Day after day, they became ensnared by the seductive pull of gambling. The men abandoned their jobs, while the women neglected their household responsibilities. Their lives revolved around the thrill of gambling, oblivious to the mounting consequences. Why are you prying into our financial affairs? Lisa's voice, laced with hostility, pierced through the phone line, directed at us. Her aggression was palpable, leaving us taken aback by her confrontational demeanor. Gathering my composure, I addressed Lisa calmly but firmly. Your arrogance is truly astonishing, I replied. It's time for all of you to consider your next move. The new tenants are set to move in within days, so you should start looking for alternative accommodations. Lisa's response lacked remorse or introspection. There was no hint of regret in her words, only defiance. As the gravity of the situation sank in, it became clear that any hope for reconciliation had faded. Moreover, I felt compelled to convey a warning regarding the impending tenants of our former home. The man who had agreed to purchase the house had a formidable appearance, which might evoke fear upon first interaction. However, despite his intimidating demeanor, he had shown understanding and kindness. Understanding our urgency, Lisa reluctantly acquiesced, acknowledging the need to vacate the premises promptly. However, she pleaded for more time to secure alternative housing arrangements. We'll leave as soon as possible, Lisa conceded, her tone tinged with resignation. But finding a new place may take some time. Can't we be granted a little more time? Their plea for an extension tugged at my heartstrings, but given the circumstances, concessions were impossible. The impending danger and uncertainty demanded swift action, leaving little room for leniency. As I listened to Lisa's voice over the phone, a twinge of sarcasm crept into my smile. Her anxious tone betrayed the urgency of the situation, and I couldn't resist a slightly sardonic response. You don't have much time left, I remarked dryly, offering one last piece of advice before bidding her farewell. So choose your actions wisely. Goodbye. As I ended the call, a sense of relief flooded over me, washing away the tension that had gripped me. It was as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders, leaving me with a feeling of newfound liberation. Later, through hearsay and gossip, I learned that the four of them had swiftly and diligently tidied up their living quarters before vacating the premises. The news brought a chuckle to my lips. It seemed they, too, had felt the urgency of the situation. Although I received no direct communication from them, I gathered from a reliable source that they had downsized to a cramped 180-square-foot studio apartment. The thought of all four of them squeezed into such a tiny space piqued my curiosity. Perhaps amidst their financial woes, they were caught up in the relentless cycle of repaying debts, leading busy lives that left little time for leisure or comfort. It was almost poetic justice, I mused as I contemplated their plight. After all the twists and turns, it appeared that they were reaping the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, David and I were on the cusp of embarking on a new chapter in our lives. In our cozy new condo, nestled in a vibrant neighborhood, we envisioned days filled with peace and contentment. Finally, we would have the opportunity to enjoy each other's company without the distractions and dramas that had plagued us in the past. As we looked ahead to our future together, we embraced the promise of tranquil and fulfilling days ahead, just the two of us, in our little haven of happiness.